And there we go. Welcome everybody to the TG Diamond League. Today we got an exciting match coming up your way. It's gonna be Connecting Esports bringing live to you the quarterfinals of the TG Diamond season number 4, and we have none other than the famous Overstorms facing off against Elevated Esports here live on Connecting Esports Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube. As always, you know the drill. And I'm joined by none other than the Mr. Coach himself, famous boy over here. Welcome, Mr. Sleeping.
Yeah, hello. Really nice to be here.
Uh,
Amazing. Hoping for a good stream and an interesting battle between the teams.
Yeah, and I just got the word from both teams that they are ready with the draft link. So I assume you got the link. If not, I can give it to you. Oh. Yeah. And they have just started already with the first 2 bands. So let's quickly head over to the virtual draft and have a look at what they have in mind.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with the Overstorms in blue, and Elevated will be on the red side. Kassadin and Fiora will be the first 2 bands coming in here. Definitely no surprise. I would say Kassadin is one of the stronger picks if you're actually looking not to pick it, but you want to play something like mages on the mid lane, and Fiora, of course, really strong split push potential. Aphelios, so no 100 years, no OP damage coming in there, and we have Atrox, so already 2 strong fighters are going to be taken out from the Overstorms champion pool, and Overstorms so far are answering with 2 just overall meta picks that they don't want to see in this game. Yeah, so for people that are not familiar with the Pentakill draft, we have unlimited time here, so it's a little bit different than in a normal draft. We do have Olaf and Elise, 2 really fast bans. I would assume these 2 are more targeted, and we have Jarvan being first picked. So really high priority coming down to the jungler role for the Overstorms. Definitely a champion that I like. I do think if you're going for aggressive champion, you want to go for something like Jarvan because he still has those 2 modes. He can be more passive, he can be more aggressive, you can go more AD, and you can go more tanky. All dependent on how your team is doing. And we have Corki, one of my favorite champions, I would say, in the game, followed up by the Wukong. I think it's overall pretty high priority on this champion so far in our TGD and TGP leagues, so definitely no surprise here. Actually, Jason, what do you think? What other champions are we expecting to see?
I mean, I don't know Elevated Esports that well, but I do know Overstorms, and I know that they have always some spicy picks coming through, as well as some interesting compositions. And seeing as they banned some rather strong picks, I believe they have a composition already in mind, and there you already see the Orianna Ball delivery can already be enabled with the Jarvan pick to Cataclysm and Orianna Ball. That's already a really strong combination. And I think Overstorms is just looking for, overall, as always, the better team fights, because they know once they group, they win the game.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with your analysis here. And we see Kai'Sa coming in, so some more spicy, some more of those ADCs that have the mobility. I think it's overall not a bad decision if you're able to. You can transition really nicely from the backline. If, let's say, Wukong is going on to you, you can transition to the attacking style. And we have Caitlyn for the elevated esports, so they're going for that extra range. So now they have Corki and Caitlyn, 2 champions that already possess pretty nice range, and I think they can start to build around that composition and that idea here. Kayle will be banned out as a second phase ban, followed up by the Morgana from the Overstorms.
And Caitlyn actually and Corki being picked up here already tells me they're looking for a lot of damage output and like aggressive lanes, like the Corki into the Orianna matchup. I'm not too sure about that one. I think that's really skill based. But the Caitlyn into the Kai'Sa definitely gives Kai'Sa a hard time in the lane, and we still have to see a support here. So If there's
Yeah,
even a
and
stronger support following up for the Caitlyn, it will be
I
a tough
have to
lane.
say it 100% has to be Yumi ban here from the Overstorms. If they don't ban it, they're taking a huge risk. Because then we're looking at support that can actually play two styles. It can protect the backline, and it can play with the Wukong and just slam on the enemy's backline. So I'm not exactly sure. They're hovering the Mordekaiser ban at the moment. We'll see if it comes through. But for the elevated esports, Yumi should be the priority pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if they choose to first pick it in the second phase. We got the analysis, I think, straight on point in the banning phase of the first part that Kassadin was banned out because Overstorms wanted to go for a default mage. And like you said yourself, they already have that really nice boulder delivery system. And they're taking their time, actually. Hopefully they're not stream sniping us. We'll see what they come through with. So far, Mordekaiser was still hovered, so we're just waiting it out. It's going to be locked in ban, and now did the elevated esports hear my transferred ideas to them? We'll see. Janna, definitely one of the options. So yeah, they're looking. Lucian definitely looks interesting, but we're getting baited out here, and it's going to be trash in the end. So they're just choosing to play fully defensive, fully stopping the ideas from Jarvan, and I guess in a way slightly of Kai'Sa aggression here. Definitely a nice pick. It's more traditional and it's more one style based, but I definitely can see how it works in this composition.
Okay, I just got the good news coming in.
Okay, what's the good news?
I think Dermot finally has awoken from the dead and will come in to cast, so me with my second allergies, I can actually mute my microphone and breathe without you guys dying to my voice. You're gonna have a play-by-play caster coming.
Oh, that's an amazing news. It's so good to hear that. But yeah, so we're just waiting for the extra caster to save Jason from his suffering. And as we are still in the draft here, we do have to wait it out and see what the Overstorms will decide to answer this current composition with. I would assume Yumi is still an option, definitely here. Braum can be picked in the situation too. I think overall it works really nicely. Ooh, predictions? Are predictions on point? I'm getting baited, it seems, and Nautilus is being hovered right now. I do have to say that I think overall Braum works a little bit better here, just because it's not fully aggressiveness here, and at the same time I do think it works against the idea that the enemy team will have the range advantage. You can't really change that right now, but Nautilus provides that extra aggressiveness in the early game, and I would say slightly more, let's say, dive potential if they decide to go for it. Yeah, Pentakill draft, we see some people that are really happy about it. Yeah, and the prediction, yay! What a smart caster. So Braum will be locked in, and we will be seeing the mustache lad coming through with his defensive shield, and definitely a smart pick here, no surprise. It makes a little sense. Lad being hovered as the last pick, that's going to go to the top lane. It will be locked in, so we have a lot of aggressiveness. We do have two mages that can also be versatile and can slightly play a defensive peeling style for the Kai'Sa if she does pop off. So Overstorms definitely have those two modes they can play off. The only thing that I do think their composition quite suffers from is that they don't have that really good wave clear and pushing potential early on in the game. So I think mainly they will be looking to get into the mid slash late game overall here, where team composition excels. And now elevated esports. Let's see what they will be bringing us.
well, with this last pick coming in, we do also have the great and famous Dermot joining us here in our casting lounge. So welcome to Mr. Dermot. You're gonna do the play-by-play casting together with Mr. Coach here, sleeping. So, Beam says hi.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for the introduction, Jason. I'm sorry for being late. That's on my end. So I'm
All good.
hoping that I can make up with it for now today with my play-by-play. Haven't done it in a while, but we'll see how it goes.
I think hearing your voice on stream will already be a lot of compliments coming your way and more than redemption for you being late. So don't worry.
Okay, well, thank you for that in the end. So we're looking at Overstorms against Elevated. The draft has already completed. I heard something about predictions. So how is everything going on that part so far? Because I'm seeing an Orb being picked in a Braum, and you don't like to see that now, do you?
Yeah, I do think that obviously Braum counters Ornn quite heavily here, but at the same time, I have to say I'm slightly happy that we're finally seeing Ornn picked here. I know that overall teams are kind of not picking him and just trying to go in the meta without him, but at the same time, I have to say, if you actually wanted to go for this idea, I do think Sat would have slipped into this composition way better instead of Ornn. So we'll see. Maybe they can prove us wrong, right?
I would agree with you on that part. Like the only thing for me is that Ornn in this composition looks like it can be really well because it's a scaling composition in general. Like both teams, of course, are running scaling. When you see the Vladimir, the Orianna, and the Kai'Sa. So Ornn is really complementary if you really want to outscale the enemy scaling. Like the only issues I see for now when it comes to draft is that Overstorms is really heavy on the AP. I don't necessarily see a lot of AD damage there.
Yeah, they're definitely going with that idea, especially like you said, they will be extremely AP heavy unless they decide to go for the more aggressive, more AD heavy Jarvan. But then again, you have to question his potential going into the late game. As you said, both teams are trying to look for that most likely, unless we're going to see some early kills or early skirmishes. If you go for AD heavy Jarvan build, then late game you're kind of falling off of the cliff.
Yeah, it looks like that is going to be the way it is going to be played out. So just looking at the matchups in general, like we see a bot lane, Caitlyn Thresh against Kai'Sa Braum. Who do you think is more favorable in this matchup?
I definitely have to say it's still Caitlyn Thresh. Some range, I would say. I don't think they will be having a lot of kill potential here, but overall I do think that they should be having lane priority, and that opens up dragons for the team Elevated.
Yeah, and then looking back, of course, to the fact that we see a Jarvan against the Wukong. Jarvan more known for a gank-heavy playstyle, whilst Wukong overall prefers to farm till around level 9. A lot of junglers that are farm junglers do spike with their level 9 power spike. So how do you think this matchup is going to be playing out?
Yeah, both junglers are actually interesting, I have to say. Jarvan more expected than Wukong, at least for me, but I know that Wukong been quite heavily favoritized here in this tournament. We'll see. I do think both of them have fighting potential. As you said, Jarvan definitely has that fighting power up against Wukong early on, but later on I think it's going to shift back to Wukong. So like you said, he has that farming idea in his mind, and I think they just have to stall it out and not look to take too many risks unless they have really high priority in both mid lane and bot lane to look for those objectives early on.
I just wonder what the game plan of both teams is going to be, since Overstorm's team composition is fairly obvious with the Jarvan gank heavy, but it kind of feels like the only lane that is good when it comes to getting them ahead with ganking is the bot lane. Like Vladimir skills anyway, Orianna skills really well. You can try and gank mid lane a couple of times to get priority and make a rotation somewhere to a major objective. But looking at Elevated with more farming style, scaling style, like Corki doesn't necessarily need any ganks to scale. Wukong, of course, wants to power farm, so it's really complementary with him. Or you probably don't want to be ganking him. And then we see Caitlyn Thresh, who's really well on the 2v2, but the moment this Jarvan is going to be in the equation, I think things can go really well for Overstorms in this draft.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Of course, we have been talking about Ornn position in this draft. I can see some ideas where he can be working out on the way. We have to think it through. Which team actually wins if both teams decide to play more defensively? And I do think poke advantage is definitely on the elevated esports side here, slightly. So I do
Poke
think that,
advantage,
yeah,
2v2. Yeah,
I do
take
think
off a little
Braum
bit.
still has to be slightly defensive, protecting the Kai'Sa and Orianna picks, of course. I said before you got here that Kai'Sa definitely has that ultimate where she can reposition in the fights, but overall, I do think Braum will be sticking next to her instead of engaging with the Jarvan or Vladimir. So then you have Ornn potential ulting just defensively and then peeling for his Cork and Caitlyn. So we obviously have that idea, and of course the cooldown on the unbreakable wall of the Braum, even with the max cooldown, it's still going to be at least 6 or 7 seconds based on how much he's going to invest into it. So there's definitely a time gap. You can look for that ultimate to slam anti-enemy team faces.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that the ADC of Overstorms is going to surprise us with like quote-unquote new Kai'Sa build, because they are really heavy on the AD, so you don't necessarily have to go for that AP Kai'Sa to make use of her passive. But we have seen last patch that her ultimate and her Q scaling got buffed. So maybe that's a real nice pushing the back to make AD Kai'Sa happen again, and maybe he has come up with some insane genius build that suddenly makes use of so many good options with crit and AD, also with of course the AD carry items being buffed. I'd like to see some variety in that when it comes to just general Kai'Sa builds, seeing a lot of AP lately.
Yeah, I do still expect in a way that you are going to see a Mana Immune and then probably Gunsu's Rageblade. I don't expect to see many surprises here, but like you said, it would be interesting. Also, talking about the runes, what are you expecting to see here, let's say on Kai'Sa itself?
I'm hoping to see like the old school Kai'Sa build with double pickaxe and BF sword to instantly get the Q upgrade. Also because you get that extra 5% bonus AD scaling, which is on one projectile, it's not really that much. But the fact that Kai'Sa can have 12 projectiles when you level it up, it's just insane when it comes to the bonus AD scaling. So if you can get that, then turn one of the pickaxes still in either Infinity Edge or Mana Immune, and then just go through with the rest of the build. Ginsu's is also just a really fair item in every single Kai'Sa build. And then you can still switch for things like Renowned Hurricane, so you can apply your passive to multiple targets. We've seen that happen on multiple champions before, and also on Kai'Sa. So I'm just hoping for a nice surprise, and not that we're just going to see the standard boring Kai'Sa build we've seen for the past 2 months in a team composition that already has a lot of AP.
Yeah, it would be interesting maybe to see something as of an old school coming back, like Storm Razor Bolt, then going into Ginsus and then staying on that AP pathing. But I actually have a lot of doubts we will be seeing that. So the opt rune we're going into the loading screen right now is going to be Halo Blades for Kai'Sa.
Really standard.
Yeah, extremely standard. I'm aware of certain pro players trying out some other runes. Most often, the rune that people go for, if it's not going Halo Blades, it's going to be the Press of the Attack. But it's not a standard that much, and obviously Halo Blades extremely strong on a lot of champions at the moment. So we're not seeing too many surprises here, I would say.
Like it does tell me that when Kai'Sa normally goes for this Hill of Blades rune, she's going the AP side, because Hill of Blades means you want to have that really aggressive early game with stacking your passive multiple times in rapid succession. So the early game traits are going to be better. Also, if you use your W in some situations, you will instantly proc it with 3 other attacks your passive, and people will just die flat out in the early stage of the game. That's why people also play it on Kalista, so you can get 3 rend stacks fairly easily. Vayne with the silver bolts. If this were probably where to be crit Kai'Sa, you should have went for press the attack, because for early game trading that would probably be more yeah, it just would be better for your just general auto attack trading with auto attacks.
Yeah, we also have a champion on the other side, which is Caitlyn. She chose to go for the fleet footwork. Definitely traditional, no surprise here again. And the other option that people choose to go for is press the attack, but the
Well,
main
I'd
idea
say
why
lethal tempo would also be a decent option in this matchup. Like you want to be that early game bully
yeah,
against the Kai'Sa
definitely.
with that range advantage, and you don't necessarily need the healing and attack speed when you want to be that early game bully to keep Kai'Sa from scaling.
Yeah, Lethal
Um,
Tempo is one of those really nice options. I think why the Caitlyn definitely choose to go for extremely regular, simple idea with the fleet footwork, as we see same on the Corki. Those two champions want to be passive, they want to survive, and from the looks of it, we have champions that can play defensive and they can kite back for their team. So we'll see how that works out, and I do think their simple goal in a team fight will be just repositioning and trying to dish out as much damage as they can do to the enemies in their front line instead of trying to reach their back line and then just slowly transitioning the damage forwards.
So we are actually into the game, 1 minute 30, so camps are going to be spawning. It's good to see that both junglers are starting red side, so they have a really efficient clear. It is, in my opinion, maybe a little bit of a shame that there was no invade coming out from a really strong Thresh Caitlyn with a Wukong potentially to get an early kill on this fairly squishy bot side, or maybe even on the Vladimir before level 6 because he was covering with the standard waver on his own. But for now, we're just going into standard laning phase, standard clearing, and seeing if our predictions when it comes to laning phase actually come through. So yeah, once again, some fairly standard lane trading. We do see the range advantage dominance from Pilot. Really nice Guardian proc there with Dogs and Juras on the bot lane. So once again, a really nice trade there coming out. It was also a nice play being made by Olberg with the Flay. But it will probably take some time before the first kill will fall, unless this, Death Sentence is going to be hooked against subs or Dogs, and he's instantly going to get bursted down. He'll having to get popped Unbreakable there in the way to save his life for now. And Oldberg and Pilot already have themselves a lead when it comes to the cooldown game, because Substar Dogs now really has to be careful for that next death sentence that can potentially actually mean its death.
Yeah, already Kai'Sa down on the heal, and in that situation we see Unbreakable coming down from Braum, but I have to think it through. Maybe if Caitlyn decides to flash straight but a little bit to the side and go for the auto attacks instead of the Q, I do think that Kai'Sa would have had to force her flash. So one of
looks
those
like we're going
smaller
to get some
things.
action in the top lane though, is what I want to say, but Snake is actually instantly pathing down. It's a real shame what actually happened there. I don't know if you noticed, but Snades actually went for the really fast level 3 clear, so he went buff Grom, and then tried to counter jungle enemy topside jungle, just to find an empty jungler because Alex is a power farming champion, so he already cleared the entire topside jungle. So Snake is now really far behind in his jungle clear, looking at Alex in rotation and pathing.
Yeah, some action top lane.
Yeah, Duty and Innocence are just fighting it out, and we do see the early game brittle damage. I don't know if the flash was necessarily worth it from Duty. He is going to be forcing another flash from Innocence as well. Innocence still having the farm lead, but the cooldown game, it's not looking too bad.
Yeah, I have to say I'm not that fond of this flash, because if you do take a look at the minion position in the top side, we see that they're going to freeze on the Vladimir right now, and as you said, forcing that flash, I do think that is extremely important to take a look into that. He's going to push in the wave, but the wave is extremely big, and now you have to question yourself, did he push it on time? And it might be there. I think he might have done it.
Potentially so. Like, it is a really big wave. It's all going to get lost into that tower. But at the same time, we do see an on with Aftershock and not Grasp the Undying. If that were to be a Grasp, you probably would have taken the kill, because your auto attacks are going to hurt an awful lot in combination with Brittle. And for now, it was just a flash in a harmless auto attack. Innocence reacted, and that was that. Just a trade of flashes.
Yeah, oh, we see Kai'Sa actually sniping down the Thresh, and that's extremely important. Thresh can't recall, and now his recall is going to be delayed, so Caitlyn will be in a slight danger trying to contest the couple of next minions when she gets back into the lane.
Yeah, the wave manipulation on bot lane is looking really on point, like even after the really bad early game trade, but we have to keep in mind that Oldberg has his ignite earlier than Substar Dogs is going to have his heal back. So the moment he's going to get hit by another death sentence, it once again might mean first blood on the bot lane.
Yeah, so far things are quite default, I would say. Ornn right now, he has that chance to try to look for some kind of freeze. I doubt he will be doing that because we see that Jarvan is Wukong is pathing to the bot lane currently. As you said before, he's looking for that extreme power farming early on, so there's not much pressure that can be found in the top lane.
Yeah, so Incarnation right now actually looking to make a stroll to the bot side of the map. It did walk over ward, so he will get pinged out. And now, once again, returning to the mid lane, Innocence and Duty in the meantime fighting on the top side of the map, but not a lot is going to be happening there. Since Innocence is just going to, well, keep himself healthy with the sucking of the blob there. Both the Wukong, so Alex and Snaze are hovering bot side, so potentially a counter gank there. Duty actually fighting Innocence and the Hemo play getting forced. So Innocence will stay alive for now, but I don't know how many all-ins he can take without a Hemo Plague available.
Yeah, now definitely we have Ornn advantage in the top lane just because of the ultimate down, and we do see that both top laners still have their teleports. The first dragon is going to be Mountain. We have Corki that has the priority in mid lane, and Caitlyn definitely can get that priority in bot lane pretty fast with Thresh, so now I do think it's an elevated esports mind that they're trying to look for something.
Uh-oh, we're looking at the top lane. There's the Ornhorn with an auto attack, Brittle proc, W, Brittle proc, and that's the first blood going over to the, really big hamster.
Yeah, extremely well played, and I have to say slightly misplayed coming there from Inconscience, just not respecting the idea that you're already down the ultimate and you can't actually pressure out the Ornn so close, and he got punished for it. So we have a lead already coming down to the top side for the Duty. Really nice play and really nice all in there.
Yeah, so right now the Ornn is 1-0 ahead. He's still a little bit behind in farm, and the teleport did get forced from Innocence. So there's also a TP advantage the moment Duty gets in lane, so he really has his stuff on point. In the meantime, we're looking at the bot lane. It's taking some nice auto attack trades because of that range advantage from the Caitlyn. But I must say, I did expect a little bit more action here, since Substar Dogs, they did know his heal was down. But Death Sentence apparently haven't been hitting him thus far.
Yeah, both summoners came back, so as you said, Ignite definitely has lower cooldown, but the side of Elevate didn't get anything from that small gap of the cooldowns, and now both AD carries are extremely close to each other. I think there's 1 minion difference if both sides collect all of the wave as it is right now, and the minion advantages are actually mostly in the favor of Overstorms. We have slight advantage in the mid lane. It's the only lane that the farm difference is coming, I think, on the map, and we will be able to see it in the itemization, so the Orianna definitely has that slight advantage. And at the same time we have Corki that is on the tier, and now we're transferring to the Dragon.
Yeah, so Corki did finally receive his first package of the game that spawned at 8 minutes, so they are going to be securing Dragon in the meantime. Opposite side of the map, Snake is going to be taking Riftel because he has the knowledge, because of his teammates' pings and stuff, that they were doing Dragon, so it's really nice to get at least a return neutral objective. And it's not really that important to get all the Dragons in the first stage of the game if you can stack 4 of them later on when you get the Rift transformation. I do wonder what this Corki is going to be doing with the package. Is he going to be interrupting here Jarvan? Apparently he is, so Snake is now actually dueling Incarnation. We're not seeing it. Snake's actually dropping really low, having to flag and drag over the wall, barely going to cling on to life. It was not the kind of play I expected.
Yeah, I do think it was out of screen, but he actually flashed too, so now Jarvan is flashless for upcoming fights and upcoming objectives.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the play you wanted to be making with the package, because normally it's just a really great roaming tool to get it towards bot lane or top lane, and then get your top lane or bot lane ahead by a kill, or if you take it yourself, you can start roaming it again when the next package has arrived. But for now, a flash is a flash, so whenever you find Snake, you can just go in and think to yourself, he can never flash dupe me.
Yeah, I
for the next
definitely
5
can
minutes.
understand the idea that, I would say, like we said, you have skill and composition, and it's quite hard to find those skills. And even if you find the kill in a bot lane right now, there's no dragon, they took it already, so I think here Corki is not taking as many risks and just trying to drag out the game slightly more, and at the same time he's limiting Jarvan aggressiveness at the moment.
Yeah, right now all eyes should actually be on Snades, because Snades does have the Eye of the Herald, and I really wonder what he's going to be doing with that eye. Like, where is he going to be making that play? Is he going to want his bot lane to snowball and try to use the eye there to get some free tower plating, or is he going to be using it on top lane? He has 3 minutes to make that decision, and for now it looks like he's hovering bot, but he's not committing yet.
Yeah, we saw a try here to freeze from the side of Overstorms, but it's a miscommunication. It's actually a pretty big miscommunication problem here. We see that Kai'Sa with Braum started to freeze, and then you want Jarvan actually coming towards you, but he started moving away from them, and then they had to break the freeze, and now we see a small problem from the elevated side. They didn't take use of that, because the wave was currently pushing into them, and I have to question Caitlyn ideas here. They're not pushing for those platings here, so then you have to ask yourself, why are they're not freezing at the same time? Because it's definitely an Overstorms lead here, just to trade out the waves as they're doing currently, because Vladimir is already almost 20 CS up, and if we look at mid lane, we have 13 CS lead. It currently broke down slightly, but they have 2 lanes that have that farm advantage, and they're just slowly getting that lead.
Snades actually got spotted out by a control ward there over on the top side of the map. I don't think that Desmond would have hit, but the flash is going to be burned from Euros. Now Innocence is trying to be fighting Duty in the bot side of the map, but Alex, with the help of the mid lane, is now going to be diving the bot lane. Substar Dogs with a really nice ult there is going to be dodging at least 1 kill and 1 death. So it is going to be a 2-for-1 in the end on the bot lane. Alex, I don't think he should have died right there, but really well played by Substar Dogs. But in the end, well, you still do lose the trade.
Yeah, it's really nice that Thresh actually had his stopwatch, but at the same time, we have to remember the Herald, and we see here it coming down on the mid lane.
I don't know if it's like, if it has the most value to give all the plating to Orianna, since I don't see Orianna necessarily as one of their hyper carries in this composition. Like, don't get me wrong, that she can be an absolute nuke. Like, her AP scalings are really out of this world when she gets to that 3 to 4 item power spike. But it still, to me, it feels like Kai'Sa and Vladimir are way more of like 1v9 solo queue champions. So if you can get the snowball over there, it's probably just way more useful than getting it over to Orianna.
If I'm correct, actually the gold was splitted between Jarvan and Orianna, but I might be wrong here. Definitely it's not bad. The Overstorms actually get the lead from that play in a weird way, just because of the Herald, and we have a tower down already at 14 minutes, and Orianna definitely is just going to be a beast coming forwards into this game.
Now, well, it does leave it at a really nice gold advantage going over to the Orianna. Now, Corki really has to be catching up with that Manamium scaling sooner or later. Dragon is going to be warded out right now by Alex and Incarnation from Elevated. Looks like Flatline does want to contest, but the resources are really slim. They do have teleport on the side of Ornn, and Innocence does have it as well, so he's going to be forcing it first. There's the second teleport going out with Duty. Alex engaging with the Cyclone is going to deal a lot of damage, disrupting the entire team fight. Off the Forge God once again. Such a really nice wombo combo, and Juras is trying to zone everyone away from the Dragon because he knows that Substar is still on the back line. In the end, 4-4-0, really cleanly outplayed there by Elevation.
Yeah, definitely such a disrespect coming down from the Overstorms. Seeing that Corki is actually on a package at the moment, and we actually see the action on the bot lane right now.
Yeah,
Is
nice
barely surviving, yeah. Definitely a nice transition, but coming down again to the fight, definitely a lot of value that we saw from the package, from the Corki. Really nice setup done by the Wukong, understanding that you have to make something in that situation. You're not up by the gold, you're not up by the items, but the value that you're getting from the package itself in that fight, it definitely shifts the advantage slightly in your favor if you're utilizing it correctly. And if you're getting onto 3 people, I can't find any better use in that situation. I definitely have to give props to the mid laner of the Elevated Esports there.
It kind of feels like the teamfight setup from Elevated is so nicely split amongst multiple champions. Like on the other side, we only see Jarvan. Like Jarvan has to make the engage, and then everybody else really needs to collapse on that part. On the side of Elevated, we see a Wukong followed by Call of the Forge God, a package if necessary, and it's so much more lockdown to keep hyper carries like Vladimir and Kai'Sa at bay, and even when they're split up, like we just noticed, it's just such a bad fight. Right now we do see some action on the bot lane. Snades, with that all-in, really wants to go looking for something, but Incarnation is there way earlier than his mid lane counterpart, so it will be a 3v4 in their disfavor, and well, they will be giving out two free handouts. To the side of Elevated.
Yeah, that's exactly what we talked about in the draft. Tresh being there as that cornerstone of the draft, just protecting both Caitlyn and Corki. And as you said yourself, they have Corki, which does supplement that idea that they can go for the backline. And if we look at the board itself, we see that Corki is on 4 kills. Caitlyn is sitting on 3 and 3 assists coming with that. So the plan for Elevated Esports is coming together really nicely. They have both of their winning conditions currently activated.
Yeah, it is going to be a real tough cookie to come back from this one on the blue side right now. Duty's forced, Flash getting forced by Innocence, combination of Hemo Plague and a lot of abilities. Snades was there already on the follower, but he wasn't going to be there in time. So Duty, with that Flash Force, does actually get away. Don't know if the Flash was necessary, but hey, better safe than sorry.
Yeah, we definitely see that the gold lead is not as significant, but what we have to take into our minds is that mid lane tower is on few hundred HP, it's about to go down. Same for the bot tower, and we have a Herald, which is currently based on the Wukong, so we're definitely going to get at least few more hundreds coming down from that one.
There's a lot of resets that are being taken. Pilot and Oldberg were like, okay, we took the top tower, it's going to be fine for us to go back now. Substar Dogs and his support Juras are now doing the exact same thing on the top side of the map. So Ornn Duty is also going to be arriving at his first lane, the top lane again. The lane trade has done its job. And hopefully Elevated can find some more towers in the near future, because that's the only thing they're behind on right now.
A lot of things coming down to the importance, I have to say. Now, currently, we see Elevated, they're slowing down their game. Ooh!
That's a death sentence hitting, ace in the hole, everything being used, and well, the Cyclone is going to be the nail in the coffin. Kill goes over to the support, but in the end, a kill is a kill, and it gives you a lead.
Yeah, and it definitely gives them more time and more pressure to set up for the next dragon, which, if they get, it's going to be their third dragon. Then you can pressure for the soul and some action bot lane.
Pilot and Substar Dogs are going to have some action in the bot lane. Substar Dogs has the disadvantage that the enemy support is still there and her support is trying to defend mid lane. I also still want to point out the damage that we've seen in the early game with Snates pathing through the empty enemy jungle, that he is actually a level behind right now on Alex.
It's definitely interesting how the game is moving forwards. The gold lead is still pretty close. At the moment, it's only 2,000, and if we look at the scoreboard, you would expect something close to 5k, but looking at the compositions, as we said before, coming into the game, Overstorms are extremely AP heavy, and if we look at the build coming from the Ornn, we already see that he's taking measures against that idea with the Infernal Mask coming in and Mercury Threads being based at the same time with it, so he's already...
Yeah, so now the Infernal Dragon is getting started by Elevated Esports, but Incarnation is dropping really low, and that is the Braum counterplay that we've been talking about. That's the Ornn completely out of the equation. Jarvan goes in for the steal, and he actually gets it, and there's the Shockwave for a huge two-man cluster. In the end, they can't really continue to fight. Their jungler has fallen, so everyone has to retreat. But a really nice steal attempt and success from Snades to turn this game a little bit more back into their favor.
Yeah, definitely a really nice steal. We still see the Herald is there for the Wukong, so I was thinking if they want to look for some more pressure, but currently, are they actually looking for the Baron?
Yeah, now Baron actually being started. Alex does still have the Eye of the Herald, and I don't know how much cooldown there is on that trinket for now. Descent is connecting to Braum, so Yurt is going to fall soon. Flash Flay plus Cyclone is going to be a major disruption on the backline, so Flatline and Innocence having to run away. Killer Instinct actually still being used on Alex, and Subsar Dogs is in a real difficult position. Innocence still being hit with a knock-up is going to make him fall as well, and it's just Flatline and Subsar Dogs. Snades also respond, but at least they stop their enemies from doing Baron, sorry.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting. We see that they're barely escaping the fight, they're scraping it together, but really important thing we have to mention here, we see that Wukong lost his Herald, unfortunately, but it's not that important here for them. Why they tried to get that fight before, obviously they had the boost, of course, on the Corki having the package, so they try to look for the fight. When they see the enemies, they're not interested in that fight. They're going to the Baron. Actually, I'm pretty sure they're aware that they can't get the Baron, but they're trying to initiate the fight. Why is that happening? Because we saw Orianna use the ultimate, Kai'Sa use the ultimate, Jarvan is not there. Vlad had his ultimate wasted before trying to get that Dragon Steel and just stall it out. So every cooldown, major cooldown was down for the Overstorms, and that's the main condition why the fight actually later turned out to be a victory for the Elevated Esports.
Yeah, so there is still a 2.5k gold lead on the board for Elevated, and they are still 12 kills ahead. And look at their win conditions when it comes to their items being up, like a 5-0 Corki with 204 CS, 550 bounty leads, bounty. So if he were to got caught out of position, like looked like it was going to be happening, but not for now because of the vision control on the top side of the map. It can mean something, but you have to keep in mind that his mana immune has already transformed into Mirror Mana this early into the game.
He has defensive items on top of it too, with the Hex Drinker being there. And now you have to question yourself, how are you actually going to get onto that Corki if he plays correctly and he plays safely? We see both carries haven't died yet for the side of the Elevated Esports, and so far it doesn't look that we do have the answer from the Overstorms how they want to approach this issue that they have to get over if they actually want to win this game.
So Duty actually has taken the enemy red buff, and he has also reached his level 14 spike, so the moment he gets another level, he will start upgrading his allies' items, and that's going to make major differences. There we go, Molten Edge already in the pocket, coming out for the Caitlyn on Pilot. Yeah, this is going to be a real disaster real soon for Overstorms if this keeps going the way it goes right now.
Yeah, we see the difference in farm is still in favor on Overstorms and actually in all of the lanes, but that's not good enough when you're 3,000 gold down, and all the gold is on the enemy carries, so all the gold is placed on those win conditions that we talked about. And now the next dragon is going to spawn too. I'm not sure if we actually mentioned it, so if you guys slept through it, the Infernal Soul is the one that we're looking forward here. So the third dragon, if it goes to the elevated esports, it's definitely going to be big for them.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Snake didn't just make a really huge play by sacrificing his life and denying soul point for the enemy. So right now, it's not that Elevate will instantly get soul when they clear it. They are just on soul point. And it also leaves space for just give him soul point and take Baron in trade. Like, if you see all the enemies on the bot side of the map, you don't necessarily have to contest with this composition. Just take Baron. Like, Baron is way more important for your composition to succeed.
Yeah,
And the
the
enemy
only
doesn't even have Infernal Soul. But it
Yeah,
looks like they are
definitely,
contesting.
Yeah, I agree with you, but the only question then is how fast can you take the Baron, and
You have a Kai'Sa.
can you
That's all
take
you
it
need.
fast enough? Definitely Kai'Sa is one of those champions, but I do think what we have to mention here is that they decided to put Corki on top side, and now they're making sure that the enemies are coming to them. So I think the idea was that if the enemy goes to the Baron, we have Corki there, and he can fight them off.
Is actually standing in a Yordle snap trap, doesn't get followed up by anything else, but here is actually called the Force God, and there's no Unbreakable, there's Snates getting caught, and when he dies, there's no Smite Secure left. Flatline now also getting death, and it's really huge shockwave to at least save her own life. For now, Incarnation gets healed and gets some movement speed, and the auto attack is enough to save him, to give him a kill. And it's just Innocence on the back line. Really huge Vladimir play, but it's not going to be enough to clear more than one target. So this dragon is still going over to Elevate Esports. Really nice attempt coming over from Overstorms, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough.
Yeah,
Oh well, there's actually still continuing. I didn't even notice that Substar Dog's Innocence was still there. Well, he's going to die to pilot and duty.
and
Yeah,
now I
think we
have
should
to
overstayed
question why are they there, and like you're saying yourself right now, what's the idea? What are you getting from being there, and why are you throwing your life just away to get the enemy even a bigger lead here? And I think we have to write it down to tilt. At this point, everything you're doing is just, it seems that it just beans that you're throwing into the wall of the elevated esports, and nothing is working at the moment at all.
Yeah, at this point we're just mostly seeing desperation plays, which is not really uncommon, and I don't blame them for doing it. Like, you're not even that far behind, and the moment one of your desperation plays actually works out, you can actually still manage to get yourself even to the enemy team. It's not probably the best way to advance into this situation, and I'm just hoping that this Baron fight is not completely going nowhere for them either. I'm just hoping that Innocence, if they are really looking at that comeback play, that Innocence is looking for an opportunity to make that flank just like he did before, but now just has that one tick of extra damage, it actually kills 4 members instead of 1, because everyone was so low after that fight.
Innocence definitely got a setup there, but we have to say the main setup was done by the Orianna, and so far we haven't seen any shockwaves that would have been set up by the Jarvan or her teammates. She's just doing it solo, and we have to question how far they can go.
And once again, they're actually trying to poke out Substar Dogs from a really huge distance. So 2 ultimates, and one really important one out of the question already. It's the Ace in the Hole and Call of the Forge Code that can't be used for a reasonable amount of time. So this might be an opportunity to at least take something back. It's just that Snates, they are constantly on the counterplay. Like, I haven't seen Snates engage himself a single time, except for that one play on top lane where they got countered themselves.
Yeah, and I think that elevated esports, we see that they're just farming, they're looking for the vision control, they're not looking to do anything. So far, all the fights we saw, what happened? It's either we have Ornn catching someone off guard from the Overstorm side, or we have Wukong going in, but the most important part is we always had Corki on a package. And when you have that Corki on a package, the enemy team has to be extremely careful, and the Overstorms were not able to meet that requirement at any fight before. So slowing down the pace, now you're just waiting for the Corki package, you're waiting for the dragon, and that's going to be the soul, the Infernal Soul coming for your team. you can pressure both Baron and Dragon at the same time, and you have that extreme power spike coming from the Corki there again. And then you have to ask yourself, if you're player of the Overstorms, what's your win condition at the moment? Because I don't see it.
Yeah, so Substar Dogs is going to be spotting out Alex right here, but in the end he's not going to be doing anything. Like, Control Ward is still standing and Alex is still alive, so it's okay for Alex to at least get a little bit of knowledge about enemy whereabouts right there, at least for Substar Dogs. They did know that Innocence was bot lane with probably teleport available, since Duty's teleport is available as well. They're now, for some reason, sending Flatline to match the Ornn because he has more wave clear, I guess. He also has teleport. But in the end, like you just pointed out, we are just waiting for Corki package. They're just stalling. They know that they don't have to fight until that happens.
Yeah, and the saddest thing, Overstorms, they can't actually do anything themselves. As you said, they do have Kai'Sa for the fast Baron take, but it's not going to be fast enough. They don't have the setup of the vision to actually try to even pressure that kind of play. And now you're just waiting and hoping that actually Elevated Esports are going to be the ones to make mistakes, because games is actually at their hands and they're the ones in this seat to control the game. And
I'm just hoping that there's going to be a little mind trick right now that Elevate is going to act like they're going to be taking this Dragon Soul, but instead are actually going for Baron. So the moment that the entire team of Overstorms has grouped at Dragon, they'll find themselves like, okay, well, Baron is gone and all we can do is take Dragon, but we don't get a soul, and they would have gotten it. So yeah, we stopped them. But Baron is going to be the win condition in this composition since you're playing mid-game team fighting.
And look what we got. The timing cannot be more perfect. Infernal is there, same as Corki package, and now we're looking at a complete fiesta.
Yeah, Descent's already landing on Ures, doesn't get followed up, but the Ace in the Hole already warmed Substar Dogs a little bit up for the fact that he can be killed in a matter of seconds the moment they get a really nice collapse on him. So just softening up your enemy is a really nice strategy. Vision War is now being played, and we're just waiting on, once again, the Ornn Horn plus the package combination.
Yeah, but see, the Dragon is being dragged out. I think they're fine with just poking the enemies out and just looking for the Dragon.
Dropping lower and lower Descents, this time not connecting. Flatline could have been a little bit of a situation right there. So here's the Call to Fort coming out. Unbreakable, not in time. Innocence is still on the flank, and Alex is dropping really low. So there's the Redemption having to come out to save him. Flash with the Cataclysm with the Bundle, it can be something. So now Flatline is going to actually be focusing Duty. Enemy backline is getting forced away, and this is actually a one team fight by Overstorms. What an upset actually by Alex not finding the engage he wanted, and in the end his backline is just getting consumed.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, why did Alex committed so hard to trying to look for the fight?
Is there as well. He's dealing a lot of damage, but he's also taking a lot of damage in return. The Cataclysm is going to be locking him up, so there's the flash going out. He will kill Snates in return, but he will fall as well. So it's just Pilot against Flatline, Innocence, and Substar Dogs, and they did miss out on this Dragon.
Really nice for coming down from the Overstorms, and that's exactly what we talked about. It wasn't them that actually made the play, but they waited out. They saw the enemy making a slight misplay. Alex mispositioning. I'm not exactly sure why they didn't drag out the Dragon and just went for the Dragon itself. And the mispositioning there meant a lot. The Alex goes in, but there's Vladimir in the mid lane that's pressuring Corki and Caitlyn, and we saw the Corki package was used defensively. He leaves, Caitlyn leaves, and then you're just watching Thresh and Wukong with Ornn trying to find something on the enemy backline, but they simply don't have the damage to do that.
So there's the gold deficit going from like a 2.5k to a mere 700, still in the lead of Elevated. It's still, this Dragon is being the most contested objective for now, single time. So I wonder who's going to be walking away with it.
Yeah, definitely we still have Elevated at lead here, but the lead is really minimum, and right now the Vladimir is coming in the game extremely fast. He's slowly working his way to the Zonias, and when he gets on that, it's scary.
Yeah, so Baron gets started, but the entire team of Elevated has grouped up, and there is the Call to Force God. Unbreakable once again will not stop it. Flash with Cyclone will give some disruption, but Innocent is dealing so much damage. Now, not a lot of carries actually being locked up in the Cataclysm right there, so Flatline can do his work, and Innocent is still doing his damage. Flatline and Substar Dogs and Innocent are just walking around duty to at least get him down. Shockwave is only going to catch Incarnation because of a really nice flash of Pivot, but they will still take down both Substar Dogs and Innocence, and it's just Flatline left against Pilot and Smuts. And once again, Baron gets started and is not going to get finished.
Yeah, but this is again the thing we talked about. Caitlyn and Corki, you can't actually fight them that easily, and this fight Alex just goes in and he dies without doing anything actually. And now we have to ask ourselves, maybe you should slightly change the strategy how you're using the Wukong, and maybe look just for the Ornn engage and Trash Hooks as your main engage tool, and look for a Wukong as defensive peeling position champion here.
Yeah, you'd say that Wukong is now sitting on like 250 gold, and he is really close to that dash stance completion, and the moment that he does get it, he will still be able to survive a little bit longer in those team fights, because 30% of damage will be taken as damage over time, so he can probably sustain himself a little bit better through those fights when he gets that. So maybe it's not necessarily the playstyle, but you're already playing around an item you don't have yet.
Yeah, definitely. What's going to matter here, the vision is most important. We saw the huge mistake, I'm still going to call it a huge mistake sadly, from the Elevated Esports not taking the Dragon. The Dragon was theirs, they had the full vision control, but they opted for the fight. Now they have to slow down this Baron.
So Baron getting started once again, but it's going to be a 3v3 since Innocence and Flatline are both not there. They do have teleport available, but they're not physically there yet. So everyone is going to get pushed off this Baron.
Yeah, this is really good for them. What they're looking for, they still have the Dragon that would be the soul for them. So they're looking to extend the Baron life as long as possible till the Dragon comes into the game. And then, if you have to give away the Baron, I don't think it's a bad trade for the Elevated Esports side.
Yeah, then again, Baron actually helps with destroying the enemy base because of big purple minions, but we are not talking about that. Juris is actually going to be falling soon. If it wasn't for Substar Dogs nicely blocking the ace in the hole, and everyone's going to get out of the way now, it's going to deal a huge amount of damage, but look at this Kai'Sa damage with the box that Q is dealing a huge amount to the enemy health bar as well. Actually has Guardian Angel, and a really nice Cyclone combination there is going to be, well, it looks like the end for Overstorms. Snade's now going to fall. Flatline is actually still healthy. Well, I was looking at this completely wrong. I thought Pilot did have this because of Guardian Angel. But they actually clean up so well, and Elevated is completely aced.
Yeah,
so no Baron opportunity going over.
Really nice play, and Kai'Sa out of nowhere sitting on 9 kills, 3 assists, and just only 3 deaths that she had in the game, in the early game, and it's Baron, and it's going to be the Infernal Dragon coming to the side of Overstorms too, and now they're the ones that would be looking at full Infernal Souled Dragon next time.
I got so confused by that fight, but looking back at the items, this Orianna and Kai'Sa are so stacked, and we are actually seeing the AD Kai'Sa.
Yeah, I'm actually quite happy that we're seeing this kind of version with just going mana immune, and then you're transitioning to more AD, so you still have that really nice base of mana and everything, but you have that AD, as we talked, that they need to balance out the damage from what part the damage is coming through. If we're going to see Kai'Sa really AP heavy, then you're just giving the enemy chance to stack up those resistances here. And again, the Elevated Esports, the Corki going extremely ham and trading 1 for 1 when you're actually one of 2 carries that your team has, because I'm not considering Wukong a stable damage source. I don't think it's worth.
Don't you think it's super confusing when you just look at how Elevated is dividing the CS per player, that Alex hasn't bought a single completed item in about 15 minutes. Like, for some reason, he's not getting any source of income, and he really needs it, because he went from a 2-level lead on Snades to a 2-level disadvantage. Like, where did this go wrong?
Yeah, I do think that in a way they're putting too many resources on 2 carries, but it's not that bad by itself. But then they're not fully playing around those 2 carries. They're playing as a default team as you would play normally, as you would have all the gold across all the players. But as you said yourself, that's not the case here. So they have to change that. And Wukong is not tanky at all. So the moment he goes in, the moment he dies.
Yeah, so like, why doesn't he have more gold? Well, it looks like Elevate is looking for another play. Yuka gets hooked, gets called the fourth gold, but is still alive because of the help of his W, so he gets more resistances and does manage to get out alive. Baron is still pressuring a lot of waves there in the bot side of the map. You only have to be a cheerleader for those minions, like make them big and purple. Like this Cannon is doing so much work for them and almost actually killed the tower. It's one auto attack of Alex going in with the flash south.
Yeah, we see what happens here.
He has nothing. Duty trying to follow up. Euros actually dies in return because of Pilot, but Pilot barely gets to flash away from that shockwave. That would have meant the end. So now Snake's in a little bit of a situation with Substar Dogs dealing so much damage with that crit and Man Immune. Innocence with a really nice play. Killer Instinct not being enough right now to pick up the kill on Pilot. Was no Hemo Plague there on Pilot, so he's still alive. Ace and Hole not going to be enough, and that's at least an inhibitor tower secured.
Yeah, that's a disaster. We saw the Ornn ultimate being used after Braum uses Wall, the Unbreakable, right? But the problem there is Corki was on the top side, and you only have Caitlyn there. So yes, you hit the Braum alone. Technically, you should be able to finish him off and then get into the nice transition. But we saw Wukong use the Shadow, but he didn't go in. Because he knows if he goes in, Caitlyn cannot support that. Corki's on the other side of the map, and then you're just sitting there dying in 1 second, as we saw what happened when he tried to go in. He's just paper.
Yeah, and like having Pilot as your single carry, quote unquote, it just doesn't look too well, since I don't think Caitlyn skills that well into the late game in comparison to a Kai'Sa.
Yeah, we got into the hyper late game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Kai'Sa and we have Orianna and Vlad. Those champions, we can't say that they were put it on the idea that all their resources are going to them, but just by farming, just by the assist, all that gold that's coming from the side, it's enough to enable those champions that have insane scaling potential. Kai'Sa doesn't have that giga scaling potential, let's say, if we compare it to the Vladimir, but now we have 3 champions by default. They're on similar level, or at least close to each other. And now you have really, really hard and questionable ideas that we saw early on. And not getting the Dragon Soul by the elevated esports, it might cost them the game now.
Yeah, so there's the Death Sentence coming out, and Alex once again on the backline is going to get melted right away, but did stay alive a little bit longer than normal. Cataclysm now being used by Snakes to hopefully catch off Incarnation, but Incarnation is kiting back really well, so just Substar Dogs that are alive. But because they managed to isolate Substar Dog, this team is actually won by Elevated, and they finally take their well-deserved.
Yeah, we finally saw what we saw in the first 2 fights, right? We see Wukong, he sacrificed himself, but this time you got the setup, you got the Corki to use the package correctly. And now, that's a really nice win. And the most important part, you're getting that Infernal Soul, and you can relax at least a little bit that the enemy won't be getting that Infernal Soul, because that would also mean that they got 4 Infernal Dragons.
Yeah, it's still just such a mystery to me how on Overstorm side we see a Vladimir with 337 CS, a Jarvan with 208, and on the other side we see 244 on Ornn and 182 on the Wukong. Like somewhere a lot of minions are dying to towers or other minions. Don't know where it's going wrong for them when it comes to CS diversion.
Yeah, I think we saw some freezes in mid to early game, and when we talked about, if you remember the part where we said that the elevated esports side were just waiting to stall out the Baron, stall out everything, till the Corki gets the packages. The Overstorm did some nice freezes at that point, so they got some gold back. And now, when we actually get into this position, it actually matters a lot, as you're saying yourself.
Yeah, okay, so now Overstorms actually started with the Baron because they know they have the Kai'Sa. They're dealing huge amount of damage and they actually secured. So now it's Baron against Infernal Soul. Really nice Cataclysm. If there's a Shockwave right there, it would have been huge, but it isn't there yet. So right now they're still fighting. Both front lines have fallen. Subsa Dogs on the backline dealing huge damage to this Caitlyn, but she has Guardian Angel, so she's not falling yet. But in the end, the cleanup from all these hyper carries in the later stages of the game are going to be enough to at least secure this fight. And with the help of Baron, it should mean game because these death timers are looking not so good.
Yeah, 50 seconds. It's definitely going to be a game, and as we said, Kai'Sa definitely popped off. I'm so happy to see that the player was able to put himself together. And when you're seeing a scoreboard, if I'm correct, it was 1 to 12 at one point, but now we got to 44 minutes, we're coming down to 45, and the game is down, and the first game will be going to the Overstorms.
45-minute game, 7 dragons. I think it were 2 or 3 barons falling before it finally came to its conclusion. It's both teams really put their best into it and tried their hardest. It could have been a little bit more cleaner from Elevated, but in the end, it's Overstorms actually taking the victory. So really well played for their comeback victory in this game.
Yeah, definitely nice. And we talked about that both teams had the scaling, but then you have to understand that you have hyper scaling on one side of the team, and if you don't drop the ball too fast, you can actually get there. We had Vladimir with all the sustain in the last fight, but on top of it, you not only have that, but you have Orianna shielding you permanently. So how you actually get their backline, it's impossible. But you don't defend your backline again. There was no defense. We saw Wukong going inside to the enemy backline, dying. Sadly, I'm not sure if this was a correct pick, and obviously, I think it's pretty easy to say that it definitely didn't work out as they planned it.
Yeah, it's a real surprise for me to see that Elevate actually managed to throw such a big lead. And looking back at the scoreboard graphs, it is by far the Discord dealt the most damage in the game, of course, with a lot of help from that package in most of the team fights. But look at how Subside Dogs managed to get back into this game with his damage graph in comparison to the Caitlyn. It's amazing to see such a nice comeback.
Yeah, we see 3 carries, and as we said, like I said, they were extremely close, right? And the damage shows it. We have Kai'Sa, she had all the kills, she had everything to her, but then you have Orianna and Vladimir just sitting there silently, using their abilities on the backline. They're not getting all the kills, but it doesn't matter. They're supporting the damage. They're supporting that case, and it worked out perfectly. Also, we have to give up props to the Snades. I really like that he was the one that was like, okay guys, we're falling down behind. I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to go for AD build. I'm going heavily tanky here because I know only way for us to win the game is to go to the late game, to chill out. I'm going to be the one to soak up all the damage, but you're going to be the ones that deal it out to the enemy team, and we're going to win this way. And it worked out.
Yeah, so with that quick analysis, that was actually game number 1. I don't know, Jason, do we have a break off this, or are we instantly hopping into the next match?
We do have a very short break coming up for everybody that wants to grab a snack, because this definitely looked like a fiesta at the end and a well-played comeback series. So I think this one is going to turn up even more now in game number 2. Is the best of 3 as always, boys. In the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals are going to be a best of 5. So stay tuned for more. But right now, I believe we head into a very short break of only 2 minutes maximum, and then we will be right back with you for game number 2 between Overstorms and, of course, Elevated Esports, trying to reclaim a victory after they were defeated in game number 1. Okay.
One more team, and then I have to go, I guess.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. You once again here live on Connecting Esports. We do have game number 2 coming just around the corner, waiting for you guys to be not only watched but also cheered for, as you saw. Elevated Esports dropping game number 1, but of course Overstorms being the big upset there and like coming back in that game, winning that game in the end, and now they're ready to either 2-0 the series or give a 1-1 game and make it a tight series, and we will go until game number 3 then. But yeah, more to see soon once we actually get into the virtual draft. Okay, what is going on? Why am I getting flamed in the cast? Hello? Stop flaming me.
Yeah. Well, Jason, we are not flaming you at all. We are just discussing a bit between casters, being a bit secretive.
Aha.
Friendly discussion. How
Okay,
we all
for
love
anybody
you and we're all
wondering
good.
who that French accent belonged to, that was Sherlock. He also joined us a while back. To
Yeah,
listen
hello
in
everyone.
and criticizes my casting.
Oh,
yeah.
I wouldn't dare to.
We believe. Let me just check if everything's ready.
Yeah, currently it seems we're just waiting for teams to ready up on the
Virtual
Pentakill.
draft, yeah. We're just waiting for both teams to be ready, and then we'll be right with you. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you have your snack and your drink next to you, because if anything has been seen in this game number 1, it is that this series will be an interesting one to watch. I think that was one of the longest game, if not the longest game we had in the TG Diamond Season 4 so far, as well as the most gold game ever. Yeah,
Yeah, I know, right? That was actually a very long series.
Indeed.
I mean, a very long game. The thing is that also, like, when the draft goes orientates towards so many gold-heavy champions, like, you can only expect it to last that long, right?
I agree. But yeah, I did not see Overstorms lose so hard early on, because in my opinion they were pretty close to pretty close in both times. Wait, what's going on? Dermot is leaving us, and then okay, so sleeping and Sherlock are cast. Okay, good. Just so I know, okay? Thanks for telling me, bro.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what's happening
apparently it's new to me too, right?
I'm confused.
I know. So what's happening right now, ladies and gentlemen, is that I will be now swapping in instead of Dermot for game 2, and I will be siding Sleeping One for this game. And on the next game, if we do go to a best of 3, Dermot will be hopping back in, and I will be staying as Sleeping will have to go. So you will be in dear company tonight, dear viewers.
Yeah.
I just need access to the...
By amazing, we have Jason posted in the chit chat, so you should have the Pentakill. The draft already started. As my co-caster said, you will have an amazing company today during all of those games that we will be having today. So we will be starting with the Fiora and Elise bans for from the elevated side, and Overstorms will be answering with the Cassidy, and Quark is going to be banned out this time. So we see some respect coming down from their side. They saw the Corki definitely worked out for the opponents, and they're just respecting that idea, and they're going to say that they don't want to see it in the next game. So
yeah, so those bans are already striking me because, it's always a bit harder to be building a scaling comp on the red side rather than it is on the blue side. So I really wonder whether or not Overstorms are going to be committing to a much more action-paced early game type of composition in this red side.
yeah, a lot of questions coming down, and they definitely agree with you on this one. But so far, what we saw, and here we see the Atrox and Fiora, we saw the same bans in the first game. And Elise, I don't like Elise ban. I don't think that's a useful champion, in my personal opinion, but it is what it is. Other two champions are definitely targeted at certain player that we know he plays aggressively, and we see the Ornn, so we're going down for default bans. And right now, we have to figure out what will be the answer from the elevated esports, what is their priority pick, and what is the one pick they want to show here but not give away too much.
And that's
So,
really interesting
what are you
about the
thinking
on
about?
ban.
What do you have in mind? What would be the perfect first pick here for the elevated?
Oh, I really don't know, man, because Ornn would have been a perfect blind pick. Actually, worked pretty well for elevated in the first half of the first game, right? The thing is that now you need to pick a champion that you can either flex around in your composition or has a lot of components, just like Aphelios can fit many different playstyles. And that's going to be the first pick for elevated. So already you see either scaling or hard aggression and setup for the rest of your team locked in by elevated.
Yeah, 200 years will be coming through. Philios coming in. Overstorms will be answering with the Jarvan. We saw the champion definitely worked out in the first game. And as I said, and I'm going to repeat myself again, the champion can be aggressive, can be defensive, with health, with more AD. So it's all up to the game to interpret it.
Yeah.
And we see Kaisa being picked again. So they're not going to change that part.
Yeah, right now I feel like a lot of these scaling ADCs are quite flavorless, and it's actually the support matchup that gives the the identity of the lane right now in the meta. So teams are feeling very comfortable locking in types of Kai'Sa, Aphelios, Senna, Xayah type of ADCs, and right now we're seeing Sejuani and Morgana locked in. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Sejuani is definitely one of those champions I really like myself, but here I'm not liking it too much as it is right now because you're giving away a lot. You have Sejuani, you have Morgana, you have two champions that have skill shot ideas, and that shows the way you want to go. And we still have champions, let's say like Braum, on the map that you can actually pick, and then you can play it through, right? You can play defensively, you can get the range champion, or you can get the sorcerer like Lulu, and she will be locked in here. So some defensiveness from the side of Overstorms. I definitely like Sejuani. She's quite safe. She has pretty nice scaling. It's not the champion that hyper scales, but she doesn't fall off bad late game. And Morgana is at the same time passive and defensive champion, and you can use it to look for those picks in the mid pre-fights.
Yeah. It has to be pretty skill. The player has to be pretty skillful in order to execute that type of aggression, though. And now we are seeing some melee champions being banned away in the solo lanes on the side of Overstorms to deny the synergy with try and deny synergy with the Sejuani passive. And right now, Shen banned away, so really good type of champion. You deny a lot of appeal that you want to build around in Aphelios. But also, as you were mentioning, right? So we have Aphelios being a hyper carry, and Morgana having that kind of components where you can start to look around the mid game for some catches and stuff. But don't you think that elevated does need maybe a secondary reliable source of damage on that composition?
Yeah, they definitely have to get the damage, and actually Overstorms, they're just playing the mind games. They're just saying that we don't need to change anything. It worked. Show us what you got, and they're going to lock in Oriana again. We saw that it worked out really nicely, and now Vladimir is not there, so they will have to change something at least.
Yeah, Vladimir being banned away, and the Kayle also, who is a great substitute to the Vladimir. Now, I do believe that since Overstorms are indeed getting the counter pick in the top lane, I really wonder what they are going to be going for, because a lot of the hyper carry, hyper scaling options are now gone with the Fiora, Vladimir, and Kayle banned away.
Yeah, now, as you said, Elevated have to find a way to get that consistent damage, because they definitely need it. We see Veigar being picked here, so I don't think it's a bad pick, actually. I do think it can be quite placed well in this composition where the enemy team, they don't have that much range, and most of the champions from the enemy, sorry, from the enemy team, you will be able to
Oh,
lock down quite fast. Oh, we'll be seeing Soraka.
will we be
Yes,
seeing
please
Soraka
give
top
it to
lane?
me. Give it to me. I want to see it.
So Soraka, the thing with Soraka top lane is that she's actually still as viable as she used to be, but in very specific spot. Okay, get that out of the window. We are seeing the
Yeah,
crab
we're
bot
getting baited.
Urgot top lane, baby. That's what we're talking about. You wanted a front line with that of Felios, with that Sejuani, and also some sort of CC to round up that already CC heavy comp with the Aphelios, Sejuani, Morgana, Vigar, and now the Urgot being locked in by Elevated. We have the full final comp, and now it's up to Overstorms to decide what pick they want in that top lane to counter the Urgot.
Yeah, they definitely have to find a way because it's really important. If you're going to go for a passive one here, then you're risking a lot because looking at Overstorms, they want to fight. They want to look for those team fights, right? Actually, you can
Yeah.
see same for the elevated, but if you're picking a tank here, Urgot can still do some damage as a split pusher. And
I know,
now,
right?
currently, you don't have an answer to that. But the
And
Camille
the
is the one.
answer to that is the Camille, right? You know, there's that one pick that can shred tanks super quickly in the Fiora. Now she's banned away. You just default to the other pick that does really well into tanks, and the Camille is just going to be doing exactly that. You were also mentioning the split pushing threat, and I do believe that Camille in the later stages of the game has of what to do nicely into the Urgot on a split push.
Yeah, I think she places it really nicely. Urgot is quite a hard champion, I would say. One of the hardest ones, if you ask me. And the problem with him is that early on, he's not able to do much.
Yeah.
So he has to find a way to sustain through the lane. Because realistically, he's not becoming a champion until level 9. He's one of those champions that you need some setup, then he's useful. So one of the tactics that actually certain Urgot one tricks use, and it's no surprise tactic, you want to zone out the enemy level 1 of his creeps. So you're sacrificing your creeps, you're not getting the gold, right? But you're zoning out, standing on the wave of the caster minions, and you're soaking up the experience. You can actually do that because of the passive, how Urgot works early game with the rotation of your body and that excessive extra damage that you're getting there. If you're not getting that, if you're not getting any passive, setup for that, you will have to sacrifice some time from the Jarvan to help you survive through the lane. Because if you fall behind Camille, you will have a huge issues that you have to deal with.
Yeah, Camille is one of those champions that's really, really good when she's ahead, and once you manage to take her down, she actually feels awful and feels like she can't do much until very later stages of the game. So right there, you're gonna have a top lane that's gonna be decided in the very early levels, as you mentioned, right? Because if the Camille ever manages to get an advantage over that Urgot, she's just gonna snowball it over and over, and same goes for the Urgot, actually, right? Especially considering that you have Sejuani and Javan as the junglers, so two junglers that have a lot of agency and potency in terms of ganks in that top lane. So this is really going to be exciting and explosive, at least.
I see you lack judgment.
One of the things also that people tend to forget is that Urgot synergizes really well with the Cull item, where, you know, the +3 health on hit actually procs on every single ticks of his W. And the thing is that the problem with Cull compared to the Doran's Blade is that you do not get the health, and when you are playing against a Camille that has a lot of all-in potential, it is a very concerning problem. So in every single matchups where Ornn is not able to go Cull, is already some sort of disadvantage into him. So Camille already has that going her way, and even if the Urgot still decides to go for, you know, sort of the double Doran or Doran Cold type of build, it is still some gold invested that will not help your gold scale against a pick like Camille that has a very good scaling.
Yeah, one of the things I'm slightly surprised, and I think that would have worked really well for the side of elevated esports, and the champion just getting not picked is extremely weird to me. Is we don't see Yumi, and you have Aphelios, you have Sejuani, you have two ways that you can actually utilize the champion. Of course, you're sacrificing some aggressiveness early on, in a way, but you're getting extra sustain, you're getting extra ways to initiate those fights, and I do think that I'm slightly missing the champion here.
On which side? Overstorm?
On elevated esports
Elevated?
side, yeah, I do think it
Yeah.
works slightly better for them, because then you can really work it nicely with the Sejuani. You can make it as one of the entries. You can just simply use your dash with the Yumi. You don't need to use your ultimate, because I do think it's really important for Sejuani to keep on to her ultimate if that's a possibility.
And you also have the possibility of like sticking the Yumi on the Urgot, since you have that Juggernaut in the top lane, making him like kind of immortal in the mid game.
Yeah, there's definitely like a lot of options. Like you say, Urgot, you can put it on the Philos. There's a lot of ways, and I do think you want to save out on that Sejuani ultimate. It's still going to be the case here. It's really similar. If you can save Sejuani ultimate, it's extremely important, because then Kai'Sa can't really use her ultimate onto your backline. If she does that, you just lock her into the place, and she's quite easy to kill even with Lulu ulting her, and realistically Lulu won't be able to follow her if she goes in too deep.
Yeah.
You have Veigar Cage to separate the teammates. I think Veigar is a really nice pick if they utilize it correctly. The separation can be really strong. It can stop Camille from jumping in. It can stop Jarvan. Again, we have Orianna ball delivery by the Jarvan, by the Camille. There's a lot of ways they can utilize that. So I think both teams have really interesting win conditions. And the question here is, which side utilize it better?
Yeah, I really do think that Yumi would have been a very interesting pick here. Well, as you said, right, unfortunately we're not going to be having it in this comp. But rather than the Yumi pick, would you want to spend a bit more time discussing that CC that they have on the side of Elevated? Because they really seem to have a lot of crowd control and space control, so on the side of Elevated, with all of those picks, with the Veigar Event Horizon, with the Morgana Binding and stuff.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what runes we will be seeing this game, what will be the options taken out for each of the teams. Let's say, talking about Orianna here, are we expecting something interesting, or the default obviously has to be going for the phase rush, but are we having any chances that we will be seeing something spicier, let's say Spellbook coming in here?
I think I would place my money on Glacial Augment, maybe.
Wow, I would be extremely surprised to see that one. But I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, because like I heavily dislike Glacial Augment most of the time. The thing is that right there.
Oh, she's going for the Ares.
Aerie, oh, wow, okay, so lane domination there. Trying to poke down that Veigar really hard.
Yeah, I have to say it's quite default in a way, and it's aggression. It's not the aggression that you would get, obviously, let's say, from the Comet, but it's more sustainable energy, and it's more sustainable aggression. So it's really nice. It also works with the shields. So overall, it's one of those runes that really fit with the Orianna. We haven't seen it that much, at least in pro play. Most of the players usually tend out to go for the phase rush, or even for the spellbook in certain cases. So it was slightly forgotten, but it's definitely still a viability that you can go for. And the opponent of the Orianna will be going for the domination, sorry, for the Glacial Augment with the domination tree behind it. So as we said in the draft itself, The Veigar is here more as someone that wants to split out the teams. He wants to give that advantage in a team fight, in the zoning. It's not that he's looking for that extra aggressiveness early on. He's more about the sustain in the fights.
Yeah. So I would have actually liked the Glacial Augment to be on the Orion and not the Veigar. Here's the reason why. The thing is that when you play Glacial Augment, sure, you slow down your scaling a bit because you go for the Glacial Augment type of builds. But the thing is that, on the other hand, though, what it concretely does is that it slows down some targets so that you can place your spells better, or so that your teammates can place their spells better. The thing is that on the Veigar's team, however, you already have plenty of setups with the Event Horizon, Glacial Prison, Dark Binding. You also have the Graviton from Aphelios to point and click CC somebody in teamfight. So I really dislike the Glacial Augment on Veigar. If he wanted to go for Inspiration, I would have advocated the Unsealed Spellbook instead.
It's not.
But yeah.
I'm not exactly sure if I don't like it. I think it's fine here, but as you said yourself, I can see some ideas why you would want it on Orianna, let's say, even like you said. It works nicely because your teammates, they don't have that much engaged tools. Yes, you have Camille, you have Charman, but both of those champions, at least early on, they are quite AD heavy. They don't have the tankiness in a kit. So if you're throwing them there, it's really hard not to sacrifice them immediately. And if you would have that Glacial, it would give you the chance actually to get into the range. Kai'Sa is not one of those champions that has that initial big range as a champion. Same goes for the Orianna, even in a way. You need a slight setup for it, so the Glacial would work that part, but here, as we said, she's working the areas, so I'm expecting some Jarvan ganks in the mid lane, maybe, and if that works, then we could actually talk that their plan actually was a success.
So Jarvan has multiple options here. He can go for the full clear that he might be initiating here with this Gromp, or he can also go for some very early ganks, as you mentioned, right? The thing is that he's playing into a Sejuani that doesn't have any melee allies in this game.
Yeah,
so...
I have to say, I really don't like what the Urgot is doing. We see that he traded like 2 auto attacks with Camille, and Camille went for the heal ability here, the idea here, just to zone him out, but it's not enough of a tool. But Urgot is not utilizing his level 1, and now instantly you're letting Camille push in. She has all the priority, and you're putting yourself in a really awkward position right now. After that level 1, you just have to chill under the tower and pray that you can get at least enough CS not to completely fall behind.
Yeah, right now Urgot already starting in a very bad spot in this lane, just from how the lane is going to go in the next few minutes. Good point for him though is that the Camille actually has the Grasp instead of the Conqueror Rune choice, so he might not get bullied that hard and be all in that hard. And by the time he maybe gets a Rumble Vest in his inventory, he's gonna be able to be trading the Camille in the lane. But as you said, right, it's all about the scaling in the later stages, split push threat of the game. Now,
yeah, see, he's getting, but that's the thing. You're Urgot, you're not winning those trades.
Yeah.
Even if you play them correctly, it's just the nature of the champion. And I have to say, certain people don't understand that idea, is that with certain champions and certain fights, you can play as good as you can, but it's not good work.
That has to hold because the Veigar has to flash away. Now Orianna flashes in for the kill. First blood in the favor of Flatline. And now the Sejuani is here just to watch her mid laner's body fall on the ground.
And as we said just like a minute ago, that they have to make those ganks on the mid lane, and the second we do that, the minute passes and we actually see the Jarvan doing a really nice gank and both summoners down
and
from the Veigar.
Might repeat itself because Veigar still has no flag. Great Event Horizon, the Arctic Assault to get on top of that Orianna. They managed to take her down, and John will get the revenge here, but now he's falling low. There's a lot of minions around, flashes around to just trade kill against that Veigar. Scores now 2 and 3 in the favor of Overstorms.
Yeah, and I think Overstorms, I'm quite surprised how it all went down, but you have to be happy if you're Overstorms, right? If we take a look at the minions right now in the mid lane, it's going to freeze in them, and that opens up a gank possibility again onto Weiger. He has to be on his toes to be extremely careful. We see that he already purchased the control ward, so the placement has to be correct too, and not to get bullied out enough.
And also that Jarvan is the most happy of all of these skirmishes in that very early game, because he's already has the Bami Cinders in his inventory, so he's going to be outpacing the Sejuani in the early game now. Camille out trading hard onto that Urgot, while Jarvan's going in again onto that poor Veigar, and the red buff is taking away, will get the kill. Sejuani goes in. Will she have the damage to get on top of
Yeah, I don't think she does.
And eventually gets the kill. Sejuani once again comes to the mid lane, but he's completely outpaced by that Jarvan actually.
Yeah, and now that's the huge problem. Veigar not respecting the aggression that Jarvan can actually put in. Sejuani, I don't think it's a right call even to try to look for that kill. You're still playing a tank in the end.
Camille is going in. She already has dealt with a hook shot. Now disdain from the Urgot as well as his ultimate, but he doesn't have the damage.
It has to be a kill
to actually take him down. And there you go, the kill onto that Camille to just make sure that she's always going to be on the winning side of that trade. And you have to take into account as well the freeze on the top side that makes it a bigger advantage.
Really nice freeze. And we said that Urgot definitely messed up in the first part of the lane, which is like levels 1 to 2. But then again, you have to question yourself. Why are you not respecting the idea? You should be giving away some minions, and now, again, top lane, it's going to freeze back now into Urgot. Urgot cannot freeze against the Camille, so Camille will have more opportunities.
Yeah, now Morgana will have to flash the Dragon Pit just to get away. And I do believe that Elevated is quite happy with having that Ocean Drake off the back of the top lane gang from Jarvan.
Yeah, at the same time, it's slightly a worrying sign to me that Elevated Esports, they already feel pressured out to look for those plays and to commit, let's say, flashes in this position.
Yeah.
Because now they're feeling they're extremely behind. They're 3,000 down. We're not even at 10 minutes yet.
Yeah, it's 7 minutes in.
We had the same result at 40 minutes last game, but this game the pace is like 10 times faster already.
Yeah, I do agree, and it's specifically because of Snaze, how proactive he has been in the early game also. And now, there he goes again! Instant Cataclysm on top
flash
of
on Morgana!
And she's gonna be going down.
Yeah, the kill is just delivered to Kai'Sa here, and I really like the setup. Of course, the timing played a part into it. We have to say that the timing was slightly unfortunate, definitely for the Elevated Esports, but you have to remember, they knew the Morgana doesn't have flash, and what I really liked is Jarvan, he's not going for the Aphelios, he's not greeding for anything, he knows Morgana is dead in that situation. So they simply take it.
Shockwave on the mid lane might get the better of that Veigar. There you go, flatline now. 3-1 and 3, 8 minutes in.
Yeah, I have to say, it looks like GG already.
What are you even doing? Sejuani finding herself in a very bad spot. Will pick up the Herald. At least it's a deny to the Overstorms lineup, but now you have no jungle pressure whatsoever on the map.
Yeah, the same thing repeats itself. They're feeling like they're in a corner, they have to find something. The Overstorms, they realize that the enemies are in that position, so now they're just playing for the vision, they're playing smart. If we'll take a look at the mid lane, Veigar was actually 40 CS down. He's closing down the gap to 30 CS here if he collects these two minions under the tower, but 30 CS difference is extremely huge. If we actually collect that into the gold, it's going to be 1 or even close to 2 kills.
And the thing is that picking up the Herald, even with Sejuani dying, it just feels like a sad constellation prize for Elevated, right? And the main, like the biggest issue that I have with this is that even though you do get the Herald, hold on, Jarvan might get aggressive on that top side, interrupt the disdain, the Hextech Ultimatum will lock that Urgot in place, but oh, might be a return kill actually. Jarvan just flashes away before the
Yeah,
threshold
Jarvan slightly overextending there.
kicks
So,
in.
okay, coming back to your point. Oh,
Actually, never mind, it's still going. Camille might be getting super low onto that tower. We have to flash away, and the Urgot will get away with his life. Camille and Jarvan pretty low after all that
yeah,
forcing
he's
in top lane.
barely surviving there with Sejuani in the
Speaking
bot
of-
lane.
Yeah, Sejuani now going in. She does have the Glacial Prison available. We go onto that Kai'Sa, great cleanse, and the Killer Instinct to make sure she gets out, but not without her support dying.
Yeah, so at least the ADC will be like... The question I had, how are they going to set up the Herald? Because all the lanes were losing extremely hard, but they're lucky here. They know the Jarvan is on top side, and they find the entry here in the bot lane. So really nicely waited out and played out here by the Elevated, and that unsuccessful gank is going to cost them a lot.
Great response play in the favor of Elevated, though. That's going to be doing a little bit to close down that gold gap. Oh, instant flash after the TP for Incarnation.
Yeah, and Orianna is definitely happy just to use out her ultimate, and she's getting the flash out of Veigar, and we saw how Veigar is immobile, he can't do that much in this lane, and right now he's going to get terrorized even more.
Yeah, this guy, he's sitting now in a real bad spot. He's already been camped so much by that Jarvan in that mid lane. You can bet that he's really unsafe right now without his flash anymore.
Yeah, 30 CS difference in the mid lane, 25 in the top lane, and
oh,
while talking about something, Lola might be in danger, but Morgana is just going to say hello and just let her leave.
Yeah. Just to support life, you know, you cross each other in the jungle when you're out for wards.
Yeah, the only actually lane that is not that far behind, we could discuss that, it's bot lane, but even there, Aphelios is down already 15 farms, so the gold difference is actually climbing down from all of the lanes, and they're just now looking to get that into objectives.
Yeah, and the item path also is not doing quite a lot in the favor of Elevated, because Aphelios right now, he's sitting on BF and Pickaxe, while Kai'Sa already has a completed item in the Muramana. So that means they actually do have the bot lane pressure, which results in a very easy, uncontested Cloud Drake in the favor of the Overstorms.
Yeah, talking about the items, we have to take a look at the top lane. Camille, she has Trinity already, and now she will be looking to completely bully out it. Oh,
that's a very dead Veigar. And
yeah,
the tower
talking
is not
about
even here
bullying.
to finish the job.
Yeah, but
Sejuani?
we said Camille is on max items, Sejuani is completely dead here.
Yep, that's one very dead boar. And now also the Orianna will get the tower actually in that mid lane maybe? I couldn't quite catch a glimpse. Yeah, there you go, destroy the first turret, so that's even more gold in the favor of that Orianna.
I have to say, I'm not exactly sure why Urgot is still staying in a position where his Jarvan will be opting out not to go for the dive as it is right now, so he's quite lucky in the situation knowing his itemization as it is right now. He only has his boots completed and Kindle a gem, which is not useful at all in the situation when you're playing against the Camille that already has full Trinity Force completed.
Speaking of completed item, now the Aphelios walks in onto that bot lane with his new IE. Helps a lot doing in that lane.
Yeah, we have to say Aphelios is one of the win conditions and coming close to the only one condition that...
Oh, hold on, the flash so shackled from that Morgana, and she was just Zonia to prevent her from dying. Will get the kill to the Aphelios. Insane amount of aggression on that Morgana. And Kai'Sa didn't even have her... I mean, she had her flash available, so quite strange from the... Sounds quite strange to me to die in this spot. might have gotten surprised by the Morgana though.
Yeah, she definitely got surprised they didn't have vision there. We saw Urgot trying to get a kill on the Camille, but unfortunately he will be missing his ultimate, so Camille will be walking away there happily, and Sejuani is not going to get much, but she is currently working on the Herald, so at least that's something.
Oof. The combo, for once at least, it misses in the mid lane, means that Vigar will get the right to stay alive under his own tier 2 tower at 15 minutes.
Yeah, but take a look at the farm. Oh, okay, there's no time to look at the farm.
And you have no flash, Morgana, so you're gonna be totally dying here. And now Sejuani will have to back up from the Herald that she started earlier. And this will go into the pocket of Jarvan, who's now quite happy with that operation.
Yeah, I think Sejuani did. They're just saying that, Sejuani, you did your work, you did have damage to the Herald. We're going to give you a handshake after the game, but we're definitely taking this one.
Now Urgot does have the flash available. We can see some aggression. There we go. The disdain comes in, teleport as well to make sure that she's absolutely, she actually stays alive. And now the Camille will hookshot in, and that will not actually be enough. Top lane though, Glacial Prison comes out on the Jarvan, but he will just flag and drag away to safety.
Yeah, really nice footwork there coming down from the Jarvan. We see that Kai'Sa survives with the help of Camille. They have pressure on mid lane tier 2. Tier 2 is going to go down, and the goal difference right now is going to go close to 8,000. We're currently at 7,000. So the goal difference is there, and that's one disrespectful and unfortunately dead Morgana.
Yeah, blink it, you miss it. Now the Orianna that has the Luden's Echo, and also an Oblivion Orb and an overly large rod. She's already dealing so much damage 16 minutes in, that's insane.
Yeah, we definitely have to ask, what can the elevated esports do at this point? They do have Aphelios that is in this game. It's one of those champions that if you give him the chance to actually carry the game, he can't do that, but at the same time, it's hard to see them stalling out the game so long that they actually get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to see them do that because Flatline's damages are quite heavy right now. You also have the Kai'Sa that's well in her game, and also the hookshot that can do a lot of damage. If that Camille manages to get her hands on someone from the backline, with that Trinity Force and the Tian, she's just gonna burst them down. And there you go. Oh my god! The Black Shield in reaction.
And Kai'Sa from the downtown.
Yeah. Prey Seeker is enough to make sure that she doesn't escape that. She already saved her life with the Black Shield, but the Prey Seeker was all too much for her. And now, with the support now being gone, they were just walking onto that mid lane, try to get the pressure into the top side jungle, and maybe orchestrate a collapse onto that Urgot in the top lane.
I have to say I do respect Overstorms for actually sticking to their ideas, knowing that Orianna did work out really nicely, and same goes for the Jarvan. Ooh.
The good old Soaz play. There you go, the good old Soaz play. So even though that's now a lost teleport, you do not have a catch on that Urgot, but this will mean that there will be no one able to defend. Orianna, though,
Orianna might be slightly overstepping, and she has to blow both of her summoners, but she will be walking away.
Yeah, really important for that Orianna to stay alive here. She has a 700 gold shot down, so if she were to die to the hands of Vigar or Aphelios, that could be a slight turnaround in the game in the favor of Elevated. That's what they are looking for, and will not get yet.
Yeah, we see Urgot is going now to answer in the bot lane, but here we have some action.
Jarvan actually flashing away from the event horizon. Didn't expect to find so many members behind that Sejuani. And the Herald will be releasing the top lane, however.
Yeah, definitely not the best Herald, but
yeah,
they're going to get the one charge off, so it's not going to be wasted completely.
Yeah, it might also have been taking off because that Herald was taken quite a bit earlier, right?
Yeah,
so...
I think it was because of the timer.
Now, however, we are hitting the 20-minute mark soon, so that means there will be the Baron buff on the map. And when you have Kai'Sa that just completed her Ginzu's Rage Blade, as well as the Camille that might be quite near a second AD item, she has 1300 gold right now. So you are looking towards the Baron buff as soon as it spawns on the side of Overstorms.
Yeah, they definitely have the way to take it really fast, at least compared to their opponents. The clear speeds of the objectives are not even close if we actually compare it here.
If you do go for that Baron play, however, you have to be careful because even though they are 9,000 gold behind, it is still a lot of tools for fighting in the Baron pit on the side of Elevated, right? You have all of the AoE damage from Veigar with the Meteor and the Q spell. You have also a lot of AoE CC with the Soul Shackles, the Glacial Prison, the Event Horizon, and then Aphelios, depending on the weapons he has on the moment, can dish out also tons of damages on packet targets. So you have to
the
play
2000
that
years
way.
are still possible. He actually finished off the Hurricane, so currently he's really not in a bad position. And talking about the Baron,
Yeah, Sejuani spotting on the bottom side, so that's already the Baron started. It's more than enough for Overstorms, and they are starting that Baron now. Lulu gets caught in the Event Horizon, will actually not die yet. And even the Smite early still means that Overstorms will get that Baron buff
yeah, I
without a lot
have
of
to
resistance.
say, really nice macro.
Yeah.
The Camille spots on Sejuani on the golems. There's no way she's going to get there on time, knowing the speed that Overstorms can actually take the objective when we just talked it a minute ago, and we see them executing that plan really nicely, and they're not giving enemy an inch to take here.
Now Sejuani just backing away with the Arctic Assault. You have to respect all of the players from Overstorms. They are so fed right now. The Shockwave coming in though, and it's really enough to take down that Veigar. You just have
And
no
bye-bye.
counterplay to this, yeah. And now it's a 5v4. Overstorms is pushing in onto the base with a Baron buff. Camille heavily pressuring that Urgot, even dashing in under that tier 2 tower. There's not really much that they can do. Now, Sejuani actually going in. She might go down, but Jarvan is on the backside. Morgana goes down before the Soul Shackle can do anything, and Kai'Sa on the back line. Meanwhile, bottom side though, Camille is giving up her life. And that's going to be a very nice cleanup by the Kai'Sa on that mid lane teamfight. Urgot and Veigar are still alive to defend that, but the minions are going to be crashing in already. Means that the Overstorm lineup is going to be opening the base 22 minutes in. And now that mid lane inhibitor is going to be falling in as well. Kai'Sa actually looking out for more.
They're pressuring even more, but I don't think actually they have enough to end off the game. And as I say that,
Yeah, what were you saying?
Orianna is just giving them some more magic in their face.
10, 1, and 6. What a huge performance by Flatline on this Orianna. And that's already the second time that he's piloting her this series. So if by miracle ELV ends up winning that game, it's totally going to be getting banned for the third game, right?
Yeah, but unfortunately it doesn't look that good for them. They're 13,000 down at the moment, and it's actually pretty hard to see the way that I could actually even have a chance to win this game as it is right now if the side of Overstorms don't give away too much here.
Morgana
As you said
does
yourself,
have- yeah.
Orianna definitely popping off here, and I have to say, I give them a lot of credit for how they're playing. They had their ADC popping off on the first game. They had their top lane and mid laner being those support carries, and we have similar idea here. Top laner, mid laner, ADC. You put them on carries, and you have Jarvan, which is Mr. Snades. He's playing Jarvan again for the second game, and he's going again that full tank. He's just being that mid shield. He's soaking up all the damage, and he's giving the team opportunity to actually play around the carries, and it's really nice to see that.
So we might be seeing some engage as the whole team is now trying to get on top of that Kai'Sa, who's almost unkillable with the Lulu behind her, and now Snaze is coming in, and the ultimate from Veigar is just not enough to get down that Kai'Sa. She will stay alive and dish out tons of damages. The ELV members are falling one by one, and now it looks like this is gonna be the end of the game, as Urgot is now the only member still alive. He's versus 5 members of
They
Overstorms.
do have the wave, they do have the Urgot. Urgot is going down, Oriana is going to take the kill. As she has been farming the kills this game, she's currently at 12 kills, and it looks like it's going to be the game.
That first game was pretty close, but we cannot say the same about that second game. And Overstorms, they are going to be climbing up this from this series and go up in the bracket. They are going to be qualified for the semis of the Connecting Esports TJ Diamond League Season 4, facing off Rising Shadows in the semis.
Yeah, that's extremely impressive. As you said yourself, the first game, it was definitely competitive, but looking at the second game we saw here just currently, it finished off extremely fast, just in the 25 minutes, 16,000 goal advantage, and just complete dominance across all the map.
That was actually a very good display of macro game, especially by Snaze. He's been putting up so much tempo in the early game, right? And he's... I mean, to me, even though his KDA is not the shiniest one, he really is the MVP of that game, don't you think?
Yeah, I think overall Snades in these series, it's actually Snades and the support that we're not giving too much credit here. As we said,
Yeah.
we have to understand as a viewer and as casters and just for everyone watching that if you want to have those 3 carries, you still have to have those 2 members that are the core structure that you're going to build around. And I think they did an extraordinary job. It's not showing here in the KDA that much. It's not showing in the damage parts, but I'm pretty sure that teammates understand how much work they actually put into this victory.
Yeah, I can't help but agree.
And
So-
that leaves us with maybe an interview. How about that? Whereas my lovely Overstorms fans in the chat, make sure to ping all of those bad people that are now running away from the interview, because everybody turns shy when it comes to an interview. That's at least my personal experience. Tag them in Discord and see what we can do.
Yeah, if someone wants to come over and maybe try to explain us a bit about, especially what was going on in game 1, I believe that's going to be the most interesting question that I really want to ask, because that game was so long actually and so back and forth. It seemed like everyone could get the scaling, and that every team fight was any teams to take. So I would really like to hear out how was the mental, how was maybe the shot calling, if there was some rearrangements of the ways they wanted to play team fights during the game. We seem to have
definitely
Bartek
agree
coming
on
in.
that one. I think at the start, like falling down 1 to 12, and nothing is working in fights at the start of the first game for the Overstorms. Like I said, it was just looking that they're throwing beans against the wall of elevated esports. Nothing was working out, but they kept their mental. So the main question is how you do that.
Well, we can ask them right now since they're finally here. Welcome, Mr. Bartek, and of course, Wonkas. I believe you are on the newer side of the lineup. Sorry, not overline. I'm thinking of Overstorms here. Yeah, so welcome both of you.
Thanks.
Okay, that was anticlimactic, but let's go. So, yeah, you know, a new face at least for me. I mean, Bartek and me, we go way back to season 2 or 1 even. But
yes, nice to be back again.
I didn't have an AD, so
yeah, just maybe introduce yourselves. Which role do you play? And then the chat knows who you are, because by voice they can hardly identify you.
right. I was the ADC. Played Kai'Sa both games. My name is
Yes,
Ronkas.
And
everyone knows
Bartek.
me. I'm the jungler.
Okay, you together, Mr. Smites. Okay, good. Moving on. So live chat, as always, Twitch chat, you're live on stream. Make sure to ask your spicy questions. If it's flame, it's fun. If it's fun, it's also flame. But yeah, keep them coming. And maybe in the meantime,
while we are
casters.
waiting for the Twitch chat questions, I would like to ask you guys one question. How was the mental of your team during the first game? Did you feel very pressured because the game was tense? Did you maybe change the way you wanted to play team fights during the game? What was going on?
Well, we just waited until we got shut down, so right? Like, we waited for them to make mistakes, and there was one fight where Corky just packaged in on me and died instantly, and that pretty much like cemented the loss for them, I think, when I got shut downs. Like,
Okay.
once I got items, it was pretty over.
Okay, so there was no doubt from that point that you would win the game.
Like, I didn't doubt that we were gonna win after I got shut downs. No.
Okay.
Damn, that's actually some confidence knowing that the result that you actually had on the first game at the start, of course, definitely you were quite close to the opponents if you actually check out on the gold advantages that were transitioning through the early to the mid to the late game. It was always close, and obviously the fights were definitely close. Then I have to ask, is it always your idea that who's actually the mastermind behind the idea that you're always playing like free carries? Is it something that you're doing all the time that Bartek is actually the one playing off the tank and just giving you those utilities, that chance to actually pop off?
It's just I don't know. It's just our playstyle, I guess. We we did this a lot for the past season or two, actually. But yeah, I mean, it's working for us, so you know.
Yes, you don't change something that works already, I guess.
Yeah, unless we adapt to the enemy.
Also, something that I wanted to ask you guys. So during the first game, right, you played, relatively speaking, more like the same champions in game 1, game 2. So what was going on then? Did you default to these champions because they are comfort picks, or did you prioritize this comp because it's a composition that you've trained maybe or something?
It's just we go for Jarvan because they first picked Aphelios, and Aphelios has to flash every time Jarvan has ultimate if we're not behind.
Yep.
Or he dies, right? So it's pretty much like a 5-minute free win fight situation when we have a Jarvan.
Okay, and then what about
Kai'Sa's
the
just good. Like, Kai'Sa is just good when you can go in with your team. In this game, if we get a shockwave right on the Jarvan it's not necessarily certain that we can kill him 100% to 0, right?
Okay.
So the Kai'Sa helps with that. In the first game, I just picked Kai'Sa because we need to blind pick ADC.
All right.
Yeah, it was definitely a question. I would say that I definitely agree with the idea that Orianna Shockwave most of the time is not going to finish off, but looking at the last game, it was pretty nice seeing that she was one-shotting everyone left and right, in the end at least. And now coming down to the questions from the chat, we have one question. It's for Mr. Bartek. It's,
of course it is.
What teams do you actually think that you actually have to watch out, and same would go for the players? What are you looking forward most?
I mean, probably Medieval, right? Like, it's probably going to be the same finals as last season.
So you're not expecting any surprises here?
No, not really. Nothing that caught my eye.
Damn. So, okay, I have to ask then. So, are you expecting just to run over all other teams and to get to the final and actually win it quite easily?
Well, we'll probably lose first game on Thursday, because we always lose first game for some reason. But after that, we'll just go 3-1.
Okay.
And then finals, we'll see.
Okay,
All right,
so just limit testing.
Yeah.
Feeling pretty confident there. Is there anything you can tell us about maybe some spicy stuff that would be going on in drafts for maybe semis and finals? Like, do you have tricks up your sleeve?
Yes, I am gonna miss more smites for the stream, you know? Entertainment.
Oh, baby.
But that's coming. Put it down in your calendar. Next Thursday.
Definitely. So we will be waiting for you, just hopefully to see you on the best form for the next game. And I'm pretty sure we don't have any more questions, so
Yeah, it's okay. We can leave it at this. These poor guys are getting questioned here. But
So
yeah,
if that's it, is there anything you would like to add directly to your opponents before you go?
yeah, maybe like some spicy flame, like we're gonna crush you, gold players. Sorry.
Follow-up games?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, everyone's a medieval. It's basically like it's gonna be a clown show, right? No flame.
Okay, and with that
Sicily at
beautiful
its finest.
follow coming through here by Woody Voller, thank you so much for joining the C family. I think that's our cue to leave you guys and let you go on with your evening. Thank you for giving us this brilliant show in game number 1 and the stomp in game number 2. Much appreciated to see this, and of course, much appreciated to see you guys move on to the semifinals. Long-time contestants in our league over multiple seasons. Happy to see that you guys make it once again so far in our tournament. Best of luck, and see you guys next time.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Bye.
Now with both of them gone, finally, Kappa, we will only have to do one more thing, actually 2 more things. First of all, congratulate our beautiful streamers and casters. I mean, casters most likely, since I was just sitting here mashing buttons while they were actually talking. So thank you so much, Sherlock, for coming in, as well as for sleeping, for pulling in the last second cast here and saving our dire need of a caster. And as well, Dermot, who already left us after he took a shower. But yeah, all 3 of you did a perfect job today. I think chat appreciated not only the French accent and then, I think the Dutch cultural approach to the League of Legends, but also our Eastern, financial manager sleeping here. Call me Mr. Coach, coaching us into victory. But yeah, with that being said, boys, thank you so much for being here. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for tuning in. And you know which time it is. If you checked out our last stream or any of our streams, you know it is time for the crabs to come out. So put the stones aside, make space on the beach, because it is very much time for the most famous song on Connecting Esports.